I suppose I haven't really prepared. And I think an actor has to be really, actually has to be able to soak up a lot of things around. I mean, that's where inspiration comes from. It has to come from somewhere. An old drama school quote of mine was this thing of acting is reacting. You can never indicate something, you can never push something. You have to be able to react to something, whether it's something inside yourself, external inspiration. A truthful action on screen or stage is a reaction to something. That's when it becomes spontaneous, that's when it becomes real. And I find with film, you see, because it's broken up so much, because it's done so much scene by scene, it becomes very, very specific. Every moment becomes very specific. So if for instance, we're dealing with a moment where his pride is hurt and he's pretending that it's not by perhaps being extrovert, whatever, you needn't actually draw upon an experience of in your own life where you were actually in love. It could be last week. You can just sort of draw on that sensation, or I mean, you just try and recall what you're like when you're trying to cope with that sort of thing. You can't just play in love. You've got to play how the character copes with it, and it was sorting that out really, and steering clear of cliches. Well, the classic theme of a love story always seems to me, if you look in right through history, if you look at Romeo and Juliet, for instance, it always seems to be a situation of people that can never actually have each other. They can never come together. And I think probably the nature of romance is rooted in that, really. There's nothing really romantic about domestic bliss, you know. There always has to be a terrible problem. There always has to be external forces interfering. And it seems invariably to have to be tragic as well. And I think that's what appeals, basically. I think absolutely everybody concerned seems to be in one way or another conspiring against them. I think it's something which is a dilemma when an actor is faced with, when playing a lover. There is the cliche of the sighing lover. And the sighing lover doesn't exist, you see. I mean, the character is a human being who's in love, and you've got to find the personality for the person. So now, I think that they are inevitably fairly lightweight, because I think that that particular emotional state tends to make you very lightweight, very much without much ballast and aggression. But it was a question of finding out where his pride lay, where his dignity lay, where his what his safety mechanisms were. There was a period where a lot of people, a lot of friends of mine were sort of watching, waiting for me to change, you know. And there starts to be a lack of trust situation whereby they start putting things that you do down to your success. I mean, if you forget to phone somebody, I mean, it would go unnoticed before, but this time it's because you haven't got time. Or if you say this place is boring, it's because, you know, it must be too boring for you now because you're successful, whereas you can get away with that before. And that's a little bit of a strain. I haven't been pacing myself really very much. Sort of been a bit out of control lately. One thing's followed another, and it's still going, and I'm still going till April. And in a way, I live off that, actually. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like when the work stops, but it's incredibly exhilarating, very tiring at the same time. But I'm having probably more fun now than I've ever had, possibly. And it's good to just keep going. It's exactly how I want it at the moment.